So it was around autumn, and a newly appointed Indian chief was approached by his people, and they wanted to know, is it going to be a really rough winter? And the chief did not have the secret code, had not gone through the secret training, and was more, urban shaman, and looks up into the sky and says, oh, it's going to be really cold this winter. And so all his tribe goes and starts collecting lots of wood. In a couple of weeks, they come back and say, really? It's going to be really cold this winter? And then he said, yes, it's going to be very cold this winter. Well, after a while, it got practical. And so he called the Weather Channel, the Weather Service, and talked to the meteorologist, and he said, is it going to be cold this winter? And the weatherman said, oh, absolutely, you can count on it. It's going to be very cold. A couple of weeks later, he calls again. Is it going to be cold? Very, very cold. Well, how do you know for sure? The chief says. All we know is that the Indians are gathering more wood than we've ever seen them gather. Who's leading who? And who's leading? That's why I love and get just as in love of being in front of you this week as I have any other week, because I can be so thrilled and invigorated to stand before a group of people and say, I don't have your answers. I never have, I never will, because you have your answer. And that's the kind of philosophy that I'm representing, is a level of empowerment, a level of leadership, of sacred leadership that is within you. The answer is within you, and if you've already learned through practice, if you're using somebody else's answers, guess what happens? You might ask me. Thank you. It doesn't work. It's only the direction that you must go. It's that space. And at any crossroad within life, darkness or light, there comes a time when we make a decision to be our own leader in our own spiritual evolution. To be in that leadership role of moving forward, making decisions, and experiencing what we feel called towards. From a heart that is welcoming what it does not know. Yesterday, we were here, so many were gathered. I appreciate you gathering for the memorial service of one of my dearest friends and other mother, Carmen Matos. Yesterday was her birthday. She would be, and still is, 96 years old. Yes, she was a devoted Unity student, a devoted Science of Mind student, and she attended for 30 years the Rosicrucian Order. She had everything covered. Right? But it was so interesting because just as I like to teach in stress classes, what you really want to think about when you're stressing and in any other time in your life is what's going to make your 45-minute speech. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want to know, right? And so in her 45-minute speech, everyone that got up, and there were many, said she had a special quality of always holding for someone that they were well and they were whole. And then they all went on to say, and she had a mantra, and she said it to everything, not some things, but everything. All is well, all is in divine order. Say that with me. All is well, all is in divine order. What's your mantra? What's your mantra when you're caught off guard? Because usually that's what happens in life. That's why they call it being caught off guard. Because if we were guarded, we couldn't be, it couldn't get our attention. What's your mantra? What's your affirmation? What is it that you say? What are you leading in these spaces in your life? What are they? There's a story about this young girl filling out her application to go to college. And so it gets to the question, are you a leader? And so in a very brave way, she said, no. So they wrote her back and said, Dear Sarah Smith, we received your application. we've actually decided that you ought to come because our class coming into the season, there are 1,452 applicants that said they are a leader, and we need at least one follower. So, who's leading? Who's following in your life? What does that look like? When we look at something that often is in our way, it's the chronic thing for so many people is the inability to make a decision. There's a couple of you out there. The inability to make a decision. What I learned a number of years ago from the beloved Raymond Charles Barker is he said, indecisiveness is a decision. Indecisiveness is a decision. And so when you're in this space of, I'm trying to make a decision, I'm going to wait and see what happens, you'll be waiting a lot more than you're seeing. And what it does is it delays, it puts into stagnation with using the law of cause and effect anything forthcoming in your life because you're a person in waiting. Just follow me. Right? And so that's what indecision does. There's a story about animals when they're untamed. Someone will go into the cage and they tote kind of a stool like this. Have you ever seen that? And they put the stool in between the animal and the trainer. You know why they do that? Thank you for asking. Because the animal doesn't know which leg to look at. It doesn't know which leg to go to, and so it stops it, it calms it, it's distracted, and it begins to calm down. And the other way with all of us, when you have 3 and 4 and 5 different ideas, different thoughts, some conflicting, I might say, up there, going on at the same time and no decision is being made, there's stagnation, there's nothing happening, your life calms down. At the time that you're wanting something to happen more than ever. Can you relate to that? And so, because you'll keep putting that into the causation of, I'm not ready to make a decision, I'm not ready to make a decision, you're holding up the whole world. Move on. Make a decision, because through the decision, there is no wrong decision. You will begin to attract other things to you that will show you the way is clear and the path is clear. There's a saying that says, you cannot get there from here. You cannot get there from here. And that is the simplicity of prayer. That is the simplicity of the story of Dorothy somewhere over the rainbow. She couldn't get there from being here with small-minded people that were willing to accept a very small and mediocre life. So she needed to go there in her consciousness, she needed to go there in her dream, to bring out all the archetypes, she needed to talk to Oz, she needed to have the experiences so she could integrate them within her, so that she could create a there that she was going to walk into. Are you following me? If where you want to be with where you are in your life, if you are starting to accept that you're getting old, don't stay here, because the here is you're bombarded with billboards and education and flashes of, if you're 40, you're already worn out, you're tired. The way to age is coming from the premise of there. Oh, the here. Don't mention your age. Natalie Saunders, it's her birthday, and she's our beloved, and she said, don't elaborate on the number of my birthday, I don't want people to know, because she's coming from a there of what people haven't predicted yet. Can you follow that? When your finances don't come from there, don't look at your checkbook and go, knock, knock, who's there? Don't come from that place. Don't come from the place you're at and all the mumbo-jumbo stuff that you converse about it. Come over here to the there. The place that you see a full container. The place that you see always enough. The place that you see smiling and joy because you're able to give it to people from all walks of life. All of these things is about coming from the unknown place, the there. Because you can't get there from here. Now in Scripture, Matthew 25, 14 through 30, there's a parable, and it's called called the talents. The master's going away. He wants to make sure that his farm, everything's handled. So he brings forth 3 servants. The first one he gives 5 talents, 5 gifts, 5's ability to be leaders. The second one he gives 2 talents. And the third one he gives 1. So what happens when he comes back? The one that had received 5 really moved forward with gifts, talents, and ability. Guess what? He had 5 more. The person that had 2 talents and gifts and ability to lead, guess what he had? He had 2 more. But oh, the person that decided I only have 1, and I'm not even sure about the one that I have, because I spend my life here with what I don't have, and I just have 1. Well, guess what he did? He hid it. He hid it because he was afraid that whatever he had, even though he didn't seem that crazy about it in the first place, he hid it so that it wouldn't go away. It wouldn't go away. And so what did the master say? And to the guy that had 1 that hid it, take it away from him and give it to the person that has 10. Because it's going to go somewhere. Somebody's going to do something with it, you see. So what is it? What is that one thing within you? There's Him. What is that calling? What is that, as Reinhard said, what is that deep seed? That is that one thing for you to have called out. What would that be? What would that be? Stop hiding it. Stop covering it up. Stop acting as if it isn't so. I wouldn't be here today. No, I had my future hid so far deep. I mean, it was deep. When I say deep, I mean deep. Deep. Yeah, my saboteur always sabotaged any potential of anything I ever had. I was terrified to be in front of people. And when you unhide it, life reveals it. When you unhide it, life will reveal it. Say that with me. When you unhide it, life will reveal it. And you have to be willing to dig it out and say, here it is. About 3 years ago, a defining moment that changed my life was when I fell in love with some of the street dogs in Brazil and John of God. And through that event, those years, things have continued to happen and happen and happen. And through that experience of us bringing some of the dogs that we had promised them we would bring them here to the States by synergy and by divine happening, the guy that went to get them met up with Rob Morgan. Rob Morgan happened to be in Brazil at the time. Let's say hi, Rob. And so, Rob, his life, this weekend, in 2003, he had hidden his talent. It was deep. He hid it. He would set out to take his life because he had never lived his life. Because his talent was where? Hidden. And so what he did was he took enough drugs and alcohol to start the ending of his life. And he went out to the beach and he drew a circle in the sand. He stood in the circle and he's screaming and shouting like so many people do, God. When God's just saying, just be you. But he's screaming, I'm happy to do this and why and all this. And he realizes nothing's really happening. He's not getting more sedated. He's not really leaving his body. He's just still there and he's present. And as he looks around, what he sees is he sees a group of angels in the back. And in that moment, he got the message that he was to allow himself to go to Sedona. He was to allow himself to really accept his talent. He was also told to go get a business card and to put on there transformation. And he's like, what? Just do it. Before he could get the card printed, because in 2003 we used to actually go places and get our cards printed. Before he could, for those people that don't know that, we're happy for you. Okay, so before he could get the cards printed, people were already calling him on the phone and saying, I saw a lady on the bus and she said she was your assistant and I was supposed to call you for help. And Rob said, I don't have an assistant. And that story happened time and time and time again. And so in that consciousness and in that space, that's what we are about, is we are about the place of wholeness, which is not here, but it is in the creation of the there. So Rob, if you would come up.